knowing the crit damage numbers you need for enemy max health champions like Seer, Royal Guard, Husk, Septimus, Armiger, everything, all of that and more. Let's get it. What up team, it's your boy MurderInc here, back with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today I'm going to be doing a video that a lot of people have been asking for. Disclaimer. I'm going to be making a better version of this because it's so much math. I'm not doing it, obviously. Huge shout out to HG, Senti, and Infinite. I think they're both in MAD now, so Infinite, of course, the leader of the clan, HG, Senti, recently joining the clan. Two really smart guys helping out a lot, so shout out to them for this information. It's going to be fine-tuned. I'm going to be posting it in Discord. Let's get it. What are we talking about? Hydra clan boss. Everyone wants to know. They see that using Royal Guard does a ton of damage. Husk, the same thing. Calvalix, I know I missed that in the intro. A bunch of other champions. This is the way to go as of right now. It's a good cheese. They do tons of damage. And the question is, how do you have to gear them? What do you need to do to get the most out of your champions? So I have the rough numbers right now for every single difficulty. I want to go over that today for you. I will have links to these sheets in my Discord. I'll probably post it after I go over this in this video in my Discord so you know exactly where to find it. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So first we have normal. So normal, let me just explain this so it's easy when I go through the other difficulties. Enemy max health, crit damage percent required, because as we all know, it is capped on bosses, so we need to know how much we need. So this is the Suffering Head, Decay, Wrath, Blight, Torment, and then Mischief. As we can see from the columns here, single target champions, they require much less. Why is that? Because there's a special passive on the Hydra that reduces AoE damage, which is going to be the case for Royal Guard and champions like a Husk. So on top of that, we see no suffering and then with suffering, because suffering, the current head in the first cycle here, that's the tankiest, that's probably the hardest to kill. I'm sure you guys all know what I'm talking about. Also provides additional AoE damage reduction on all heads here. So what do we have here? No debuffs, with weaken only, with defense down, and with both. All of this assumes the champion is not booked, and I believe, and this is going to be for Royal Guard only. Why am I saying that? I'll get to that when I get to the third image, so stick with me here. So these are the rates we need for hard. As we can see here, if you go to hard with both defense and weaken, you need 533% for that Suffering Head. So we're never going to be aiming for that threshold. The next we have is Decay, another very high one in comparison to the others. So we're never going to be looking at that threshold. Ideally, for this current rotation, so I think we have, what, 2 more resets after this? Yeah, that should be right. Of the current forehead, which is Suffering, Decay, Torment, and Mischief. So we're going to be looking at Mischief and Torment. They're the lowest by far in all of these. So if you have defense down and weaken, if you want to hit those max numbers for your enemy max health, Royal Guard specifically, 135% crit rate, 125 if you have no debuffs. It's very high and unrealistic. If you have debuffs on normal difficulty, you need 533%. This is also not including Savage, so keep all of this in mind. Moving on to the hard difficulty, as we can see on the bottom here, with defense down and weaken, we're always going to look at with suffering, because suffering is part of this rotation like I mentioned before. 170% to 161. If the champion is booked, it can be lower than that. So these stats are pretty realistic for a lot of people. I would aim for Wrath. I mean, if you're going to kill the heads, of course, Wrath can spawn, so you can look at that. If you want to go to the next level, try to get as close to the Decay numbers as possible. That would be my personal recommendation for anyone watching this, using someone like a Royal Guard, a Husk, Seer, anyone you do have. Keep in mind, if you have Seer, if you want to match the damage close to Royal Guard and close to Husk, you will need around 10 buffs. So that's kind of a lot, kind of a heavy requirement for most people, so keep these things in mind. Now we're going to switch to Brutal and Nightmare. So of course, same layout, Suffering, Decay, Wrath, Blight, Torment, Mischief. Numbers just went up a lot. So for Brutal, 713% with defense down and weaken. Like I said, if we add the Savage gear, all of this other stuff, this changes. So we have 206, 232, those are the numbers to aim for, and then it gets way too high after that. Now skipping down to Nightmare, I am going through this kind of quickly. You'll understand why when I get to the third image. We have 265, 299, 405, 405, 474%. This is with defense on a weekend, and 789% to max out on suffering. Like I said, insane numbers here. So with that being said, that was from HG Senti. Now we have Savage gear, defense down, weaken, also with the mastery that is worth talking about. I believe it's called what, bring it down or something? Single out, not single out. Yeah, bring it down. Increases damage inflicted by 6% when attacking targets with higher max HP. This does affect enemy max HP. Most people will have this, so this is something that should be considered and will be considered into the final set of information for all the difficulties and all the crit damage. Like I said before, what I just showed you is going to be a rough estimate. Here we can see how low. So okay, let's take Royal Guard for example, because that's what was used. Royal Guard 217, 217, Mischief 140. Now let's compare that to what we have here. 265, 299, 405. So the numbers are quite significant, and that just goes to show you that booking your champions, having bring it down with your champions as well, is going to significantly lower these numbers here. So if you are running these champions without books, I have those numbers here for you. If you have the champions fully booked, if you have the mastery, keep that in the back of your head that you can go lower than this. I wouldn't take the same threshold. So if we're looking at 265 on Mischief, and if we look for Mischief here, it's 140% with defense down, weaken, and savage. I wouldn't just subtract 125% crit damage from every single difficulty, because you're going to get 0. Of course, everything needs a number here. So savage, huge, we all know that. The reason why it's taking so much crit damage is because the defense values of these champions, and by champions I mean the Hydra boss, are crazy. Like, we've never seen numbers like this before. Let's just take a look really quick. Defense, 13,000 defense on PvE content, where we're usually used to, I don't know, 8,000 max, 9,000 max, and that's, I believe, a faction war boss. I'm pretty sure the Demon Lord has 1,500. So let's just compare that for a second. The lowest we have on Nightmare is 4,172. So defense is making a huge dent in how much damage we can do, and really raising those requirements for our enemy max health champions. But going back to this sheet that Infinite had, with Savage, defense down, weaken, as well as the bring it down mastery, Husk to do max damage needs 310%. On Decay, 195 Torment, 569 Suffering, 174 Mischief, 262, and 262 on Blight. So this is pretty cool. These numbers are a lot lower for sure. Why is Husk having a higher requirement? Because of book damage. Book damage also matters. I don't think we've really seen any type of content, because of what I just said, the defense being so high, where its book damage has really mattered. It's been really easy to hit those crit damage thresholds on pretty much all AoE champions with relatively similar crit damage, because of that defense being so low on these stage 25 dungeon bosses. The current clan boss, not that anyone's really using anyone besides Septimus, I would assume. You can use Coldheart, of course, for the budget unkillable. But this is really interesting to me for a lot of reasons. One, this expands what we're going to be able to do. Of course, more champions are going to be added to this list. The refined one with Savage, defense down, weaken, and the mastery, giving us those true values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these, like I said, in the Discord, and I will do that now as promised. We're going to put it in the Hydra channel. So let's go ahead to the Hydra channel now. Let's save image as H1. Good. Let's save image as H2. And let's save this as H3. So we got that done. Let's go ahead, upload these here. First, we'll do it in not informative spreadsheets. So Hydra, upload file. We'll go to quick access, H1 through 3. And then I will write something. What should I write for you guys? Alright, so as we can see, the two large spreadsheets don't consider Savage or the Bring It Down Master, the small photo with Royal Guard and Husk. I don't know why I said HG. and Husk, include Savage and bring it down. Video releasing explaining this, of course, we're in the video now. Updated version adding Savage. Mastery iterations for all difficulties coming soon. I'll probably make a video on that as well, just to keep you guys informed in case you're not active on Discord or wherever I'm going to post this. Of course, credit to HG, Senti, and Infinite. So this is, of course, in the Hydra channel once again. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to pin it here. So if you want to find it, you can just go to these pinned messages, because I'm assuming people are going to be talking about this chat, about this spreadsheet after this video, and they'll be clogging up the chat. So you might not be able to see that if you do come to it. That's what I wanted to talk about today. Outside of that, if you want to know about other champions, I recommend going back to the videos where I have the best AoE damage dealers in the game and the best single target nukers in the game, specifically Little Miss Annie. One cool thing that I did with Little Miss Annie is I tested her on the test server. This A3 here will repeat a second time if the target has both higher defense and higher max HP than this champion. Guaranteed for Hydra. How hard does this hit? 1.6 million damage. Yeah, I just said 1.6 million damage. That's a lot. Now, of course, I have insane gear, so don't expect it. This was on Nightmare difficulty too. So if I brought this to normal, it would probably be doing... I mean, I couldn't even guess. I would have to actually test it out before I even say it. But if you have room for damage dealers on your team, if you're using Brogni, Duchess, Tatura Rimehide, the new fusion that's currently active now, and you want to slot in champions, I do recommend going to that video. Ignore defense champions are going to be so strong here. We can already think of a ton of those. Let's just go to the one we all know about, which is Royal Huntsman. He's right here. He has an A3, will ignore defense by 100%, so he's going to hit insanely hard. So champions like this have a value that's going to skyrocket. As far as strategy goes, I know everyone wants to know what's the strategy. I haven't put a lot of time into it. I've been busy. Of course, holidays are coming up, so that's taken quite a bit of time on top of keeping up on all the content. What I can say is I have been devising some ideas about nuking down one head really quickly for shamael users, and then using that decapitated head with shamael's passive, even though it was nerfed, to sustain more damage on a decapitated head. It's proved to work pretty well so far in an unpolished setting. So that is one strategy I had in mind, using single target champions, because what if you don't have a Royal Guard? What if you don't have a Husk champion like that? Septimus, very strong, of course, enemy max health once again, much easier to build because there's no AoE reduction, and overall single target damage dealers, while you are missing out, your damage isn't being reduced. So it's possible, if you can survive long enough, you're going to outdo AoE damage dealers despite hitting only one target because of how much extra damage you're going to be doing. So this is something I'm going to further investigate, polish off, try to make a good strategy for people, give you guys options. I don't want to make one team and say, these are the champions I use, 6 of them. If you don't have them, I don't know if anyone else works. I hate making videos like that. I know it's really common in Raid. It gets a lot of views, but we all know me by now. I don't like doing that. I want to have 50 options for you guys. Legendaries, epics, rares are going to be hard in the higher difficulties. I explained that in another video where champions just don't have the base stats to survive. One thing, if you've made it this long into the video, we've been talking with Plarium, not the content creators, but moderators, and they're looking for feedback. We've discussed they're playing the game themselves, which is, I mean, in case people are curious, do they play their own game? They do. So this is being forwarded to the game devs. Maybe we will see a change to the Hydra overall. Difficulty is good in my opinion, but the state of it, I am going to go over this in another video because it is important for you guys to hear it. There are some design flaws with the Hydra. It might have been talked about already by somebody else, but I've made a pretty comprehensive list. I've given it to them. They've said this is really interesting. It's going to go to the game devs, so we will see where it goes from there. I do have high hope based on the responses I got. They said it is pretty detailed list, and it does make sense with what I'm saying because it has to do with their analytics, and they love that word analytics because that means they could be making more money, and they love when you bring that up when it's for the better for them, of course, but also for us. So this could be a win-win for us. We will see as time goes on, of course, but that's going to conclude this video today. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below. Hyped to get that updated list out for you. This is going to be a really good baseline list for you all. If you enjoy this content, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and I will see you all in my next video.